My agency is boring. It doesn't look impressive on a feed, it doesn't go viral on LinkedIn, and it definitely isn't one of those shiny AI agencies that everyone is so obsessed with. But it clears over $1 million every single month. And if everything I own disappeared overnight, this is the exact business I would build all over again. Because nobody actually talks about what happens behind the scenes at such a level. And while every agency owner out there is chasing new dopamine hits that look exciting on the surface, the real money is sitting quietly inside the unglamorous stuff nobody wants to post about, which is the unsexy offers, the simple repeatable systems, and the things clients actually pay for without ever flinching at the invoice. So in this video, I'm going to break down why boring agencies are the only kind that ever scale past 1 million a month. I'm going to walk you through what my own agency actually looks like under the hood. And I'm going to hand you the exact 5-step rebuild I'd follow if I had to start from zero all over again. If we haven't met before, my name is Damiano, and I've been building agencies for the past 12 years. I've built 3 of them, I've sold 2, and my current one is doing over $1 million every single month, working with brands like Netflix, HBO, Amazon, Dyson, Nike, Electronic Arts, and Panasonic. I've also mentored more than 700 agency owners at this point across basically every revenue stage you can imagine. And the one pattern I see over and over is that the founders winning at the top are almost always the most boring operators in the room. But let me clarify what I actually mean by boring, because the word tends to throw people off. I'm not talking about old or slow or outdated, because that's quite the opposite of what's going to make you money in 2026, no matter your service. A boring agency is one that solves a single painful, repeatable problem for a specific type of client, charges a premium for it, and delivers it without any drama behind the scenes. It doesn't feel trendy, you wouldn't post a reel about it, and it's not going viral anytime soon. But it runs quietly, predictably, and profitably, while the flashier agencies around it are quietly falling apart, chasing the next thing. And if you think about the operators you actually respect inside the industry, the ones quietly doing 500 to 800K a month, or $1 million a month, you'll notice they're not running 10 offers at once, pivoting their positioning every 6 weeks, or testing 4 new outreach channels every quarter, hoping one of them finally sticks. They've stripped the entire business almost down to nothing. They've mapped one ideal client served by one clearly defined offer tied to one measurable outcome delivered through one repeatable model with 4 clean departments running quietly underneath the whole thing. And from the outside, it looks almost too easy, but it's never too easy. It's just boring, and that is exactly why it keeps winning. Now, if you flip the picture and look at what most agency owners are actually doing right now, you're gonna probably see the opposite. They're running 5 services that got bolted on over years every time a new client asks for something extra, testing 3 different outreach channels simultaneously with half-working systems behind them, and trying to sell to basically any human with a working credit card. And that may sound productive, but after running 3 agencies, I can tell you it's anything but that, because nothing ever snaps. But things just slow down until they realize 6 months passed, nothing actually moved, the revenue is flat, the team looks tired, and they can't even name the one thing that broke because a little bit of everything broke all at once. And again, I know this because I learned all of this the hard way from my very first agency. I grew my first agency to $8.4 million a year with a 75 people team, and from the outside, everyone assumed I'd crack the code. But inside the company, it genuinely felt like a house of cards built entirely out of client requests. We offered way too many services. Every client was getting something custom. Every real decision had to pass through me, and if I stepped away for even a week, the cracks would start spreading through the whole operation. And the only reason my second agency and my current one ever actually worked is because I kept them boring on purpose from day one. But what's actually happening inside one of these boring agencies? Well, any agency on the planet, whether you run SaaS lead gen, e-commerce, coaching, enterprise consulting, there are really only 4 functions that matter: lead generation, sales, project management, and delivery. Every agency doing $1 million a month is running those 4 departments cleanly and independently of each other. Every agency stuck at $15,000 a month is running all 4 of them through one single person, and that person is almost always the founder sitting in the chair. That is really the entire game right there. The boring agency separates those 4 functions early and protects them like the business depends on it, because it actually does. The exciting agency keeps stacking new offer and new channels on top of a foundation that is already cracking, and they call that growth. Now, the first instinct most people have when they hear this is to go try and fix lead generation, because the assumption is always that more leads would magically solve everything. But that is almost always the wrong move. The first thing I fix inside any agency I work with is delivery, because when delivery is broken, more leads just means more churn. And more churn just means you're burning referral relationships because you can't even use them. So if you close a $5,000 a month client and they cancel in 60 days, you net about $7,000 out of what should have been a year-long engagement. And you've also torched a referral source you didn't even know you had yet. But when the delivery runs boring and predictable, that same client is with you for 12 months, which means the exact same acquisition cost now generates roughly 8 times the revenue. This is the boring math most agency owners refuse to actually look at, because looking at it would force them to admit that the problem was never the market. It was always the model, which is exactly why when I started the agency that I'm currently running, the very first hire I made wasn't a salesperson, a marketer, or somebody who could deliver work for clients. It was a partnership manager, and her entire job was spending 40 hours a week building out a bench of vetted freelancers, specialists, and white label partners. We built that bench before we had a paying offer in the market, and then we designed the offer around the talent we already had access to. Most agency owners do this in the exact opposite order, where they sell something first, scramble to deliver it after, and end up learning how to fulfill on the client's dime. And that is precisely why so many agencies plateau around $100K a month and can't figure out how to break through. Boring businesses always build the quiet stuff first, so the loud stuff doesn't collapse the whole thing later on. And the same logic applies to your offer, because most agency owners don't really have an offer at all. They have a service. They'll tell you they run Google ads or manage social media or build funnels, and every one of those is a commodity in a saturated market. Commodities compete on price, and price is a race you'll always lose eventually. A real offer is boring and ruthlessly specific. Anything softer than that and you're back to competing on price, which is a problem AI is about to make a whole lot worse. Because the conversation around AI inside our space right now is completely off the rails. Because the world is full of these automation agencies, the next workflow tools, end-to-end builds, and most of it is going to fail for the exact same reason most agencies fail, which is what the opportunity was, never the tool itself. Because the opportunity is solving a painful business problem faster than it has ever been solved before. When you lead with the tool, you're standing on ground that shifts every 90 days the moment a new model or a new platform drops. Whereas when you lead a boring, painful problem that companies will always pay for, the tools behind you become almost interchangeable. Your margins stay intact, your clients stay with you, and you never have to rebuild your business from the ground up just because OpenAI shipped something new on a random Tuesday. Now, real quick, if you want to go a little bit deeper on any of this, I've got a free school community called The Agency Business, where I break it all down in way more detail, week after week. So if you want to join, I'll leave the link in the description below. There's no upsell or paywall or anything like that. It's totally free, so check it out. I'm just doing this because I'm passionate about this space and I love teaching it. So let me keep teaching. Because if I had to start completely over tomorrow, with no team, no brand, no clients, and nothing in the bank, there is one exact 5-step path I would follow. And I'll warn you right now, it's going to look almost offensively simple, because simple is the entire point of this. Now, step 1 is picking one single niche that I genuinely understand. Because the whole game is making your message hit one specific person so precisely that they feel like you've been reading their inbox for the last 6 months. If you try to speak to everyone at once, you end up reaching nobody at all, and your close rate will reflect that forever. Step 2 is building one boring offer inside that niche. So, you pick something the client already knows they need solved, and you just attach a specific result to it with a specific timeline. And this is the opposite of what most agencies do, which is hand someone a menu of services, charge by the hour, and let the scope quietly expand until nobody remembers what the original deal even was. Step 3 is building your delivery capacity before you ever generate demand. And that means lining up the talent, writing the SOPs, and stress testing the onboarding flow. So the first time somebody says yes, you already have everything ready instead of improvising at 2 in the morning, hoping nothing breaks in front of a paying client. Step 4 4 is starting outreach immediately. And I feel like I need to address this because 99% of people will tell themselves they'll start reaching out when everything is ready or after they fix something else. So that's why I say start outreach immediately, because imperfect outreach will beat perfect preparation every single time. And the feedback you pull from real conversations with real prospects will rewire your offer faster than any workshop or strategy session ever could. And step 5 is doubling down on whatever is actually working and killing everything else. So if one channel brings you 3 clients in 60 days, instead of testing a 4th channel because some guy on a podcast made it sound interesting last week, you pour everything you have into the channel that is already producing until it stops producing. That is genuinely how you get from $0 to $10,000 a month fast, from $10,000 a month to $50,000 a month predictably, and from $50,000 a month to $1 million without breaking yourself in half along the way. But there's one more piece I want to leave you with before I wrap up, because most agency owners get stuck at 50, 70, or 100 grand a month for years at a time. And it's almost never for the reason they think it is. See, below $100,000 a month, you work inside the business. Above $100,000 a month, you have to work on the business. And that single shift is the biggest one most agency owners never actually make. They just stay stuck in operator mode, approving every decision, jumping on every fire, and personally reviewing deliverables that should have left their desks years ago. And then they sit there wondering why they keep hitting that ceiling at $50, $70, or $100,000 a month with no real clue what's actually broken underneath them. The Boring Agency solves all of that by installing real department heads, writing actual decision frameworks, and letting the founder finally become the architect of the business instead of the engine that keeps powering it. But none of this shift feels exciting in the moment, nor does it look like growth on the surface. And honestly, it feels a lot more like letting go than leveling up. But it is the only move that ever makes $1 million a month feel light instead of completely crushing. The agencies doing $500,000 a month are genuinely less busy than you are right now. And it isn't because those founders are outworking you. It's because their entire business is structurally quieter than yours is. They run one offer, they serve one clear ideal client, they push one growth priority at a time, and they operate 4 clean departments, running underneath all of it with a bench of vetted talent ready to deliver before they even sell anything. And an exit-ready model already built in whether or not they ever plan to sell. That is the Boring Agency that's quietly making $1 million a month while the flashier ones are on your feed slowly disappearing. And that is actually what I'm doing inside my own agency right now. And if you want to see how I actually built it, starting with $400 in my pocket, all the way to $1 million a month, I'm going to leave a video on the screen right now that walks you through the entire blueprint. Go watch it, and I'll see you on the next one.